evening, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Welcome back to Talk of the Devils, brought to you by talkofthedevils.co.uk, your favourite United podcast. Oh, man. Just when we thought it couldn't get any worse, and after my first win last week, here we are. I have no terrible performance. Keane, how are you feeling, buddy?
I'm actually good. Get to see all you guys again. So, haven't seen all of you collectively in quite a while. So it's great to see you lads.
That's nice.
But you have to take some sort of positive out of the day. But yeah, look, it's just one step closer, a step closer to the end of the season, isn't it? Like, that was just 90 minutes of torture.
Yeah, absolutely spot on. Good to see everybody in the comments. Richard, bad this afternoon. We're making a poor team look like Champions League winners. Maybe not that good, but we were certainly terrible. Looking forward to your ratings, guys. Get your comments in, get liking, get subscribing, all that jazz. And we'll go through those as the show goes on. Fred, great to have you back on, buddy. Really good to see you, my man. I hope you've been well. Talk to me.
Good to be back on and good to see you, chaps. It's just lost for words, really. You can effectively just copy and paste everything that's been said over the last few weeks and months, because the same applied to the performance today. Off the ball, dreadful. Passing, dreadful. No enthusiasm or motivation by anyone. I don't think anyone, we'll get to the ratings later, but I don't think anyone got over 5 out of 10, or even I'm being generous there. I think the only positive today that we're one step closer to the end of the season. That's the only thing I can think of, really. The away fans were fantastic, but yeah, like it was dreadful from start to finish. I think there were a few questionable in-game decisions, which I'm sure we'll get onto as well. But yeah, just indicative of where we are as a season. But it's no real surprise anymore, unfortunately, Mark.
No, you're absolutely right. No real surprises indeed. And yeah, fair play to the obviously travelling fans. Always good to see them. They were noisy as ever, and I'm sure they've come away incredibly disappointed. Stuart in the comments here, good to see you, my man. Evening, lads. Enough said, I would say. Jamie, another face that we haven't seen for a little while. Good to see you, buddy. Tell me how you're feeling.
Yeah, lovely to see you all again. I wish it was under better circumstances, but as has been alluded to, I don't think any of us are surprised anymore. I don't think a single United fan would have gone into today expecting a result. Whenever it seems that, as soon as the stat came out that Brighton haven't won a home game in 2022, I knew straight away we're losing today. They were talking about Caicedo being a boyhood United fan, still hasn't scored for the club, so you just know that he's going to score. Cucurella, again, hasn't scored for the club. You just knew that was coming. The only one I'm surprised at, and to be fair, he's probably quite unlucky not to, I'm really surprised Welbeck didn't bag one against us. He had a couple of opportunities. I mean,
well, a lot of streams. I remember a few opportunities like that when he played for United, and he was never particularly good with those, was he? So I wasn't too scared.
When Manuel Neuer came out when we were playing Bayern Munich under Moyes, and he tried to chip him, he seemed like he's still trying. He's getting closer and closer. So you expect that in a couple of seasons at least, maybe he'll finally finish one of them. Yeah, I think it was stacked against. I say stacked against us. We're very good when it's very bad. Sorry, when stats come out. People, they've not won in 6 league games, or they've failed to score in 7 of their last home fixtures. You just know that they're going to do it against us. And like that comment said before, we've done it so many times this season where teams come up against us and they look phenomenal. Now, don't get me wrong, Graham Potter is a fantastic coach. I've said it a few times. I put it on Twitter today that I think if he was called Guillermo Potterino, people would be all over him. Barca would be looking at him, Real Madrid would be looking at him, but because he's called Graham Potter, people think that he's not fashionable. But you look, Brighton, nothing against Brighton today. They were fantastic. They were much the better side. They beat us in every single aspect on the pitch that you can possibly measure a metric against. We played into their hands massively for that, but I don't want to take anything away from them. They were brilliant, and just to finish on that, the only thing that brings to mind is when David Moyes says that Manchester United must improve a number of areas, including defending, chance creation, shooting, passing, scoring, and just listed everything. And I feel like we're still at that point now.
Yeah, we are still at that point. Fred's coming back now. Loads of you watching. Really good to see you all. Please get your comments in, subscribe. Really does help us. But we want to read your comments out. Tell us how you're feeling, and what went wrong. Who was culpable? I know the whole team was pretty poor. I thought the midfield in particular was very poor today. I expected more from Matic, but he's been played a lot recently, and we know, we've had this conversation. Very difficult to keep him in for a number of games, and I think that was showed today. Just to put another nail in the coffin, boys, and I apologise. Today's defeat to Brighton means this season we'll see Manchester United collect their worst ever points tally in a single Premier League campaign. That says it all, doesn't it, Keane?
Yeah, look, we knew this was going to happen in the last couple of weeks. It's just today has obviously cemented that this worse than the Moyes season. Obviously, when he got 64 points. Look, it's just a reflection of where we are as a football club at the minute. I think, it's been run poorly from top to bottom, but I think there's a certain level of professionalism that these players aren't living up to be quite honest. When you're not running the hard yards against a team that's mobile like Brighton, they work very hard in midfield. That when every team, whether it's semi-pro or pro, you do some sort of analysis before an opponent. You do your bit of research. You know what your jobs are supposed to be. And you're coming up against a very hard-working team, a team who play high-intensity football. You know yourself, you're in for a hard day. You know you need to run the extra yard. You know you need to kind of keep it tight, for the first 20 minutes of the game or whatever. But man, these players just don't give a shit, do they? They really don't. And to be quite honest, I'm done with giving a shit about these players and hoping and probably overly praising them at times. I've been praising a lot of these players in the last couple of years, and I'm done with it now. I feel sorry for our loyal fan base. I really, really do. Because the real fans who go out and support the team week in, week out, home and away, I feel sorry for them people. Because they go out there and give the team unconditional support. Week in, week out. They sing from minute 1 to minute 90. We had a protest the other day, and we've been having them in the last couple of weeks. The fans have really shown their love and affection for this football club and wanting this football club to do better. But when the players don't want to do better, when the players consistently just don't run, that's not good enough. And it really isn't. And it doesn't matter if you're Bruno Fernandes. It doesn't matter if you're Harry Maguire. It doesn't matter if you're Rafael Varane, Scott McTominay, whoever you may be. When you don't do the basics in football and you don't make the basic effort to put on Man United shirt and run for the fans who spend the hard-earned money week in, week out, then I don't know what to say. The fans quite rightly said to the players, say, you're not fit to wear the shirt. And United fans never generally really sing that. Now, we've seen Arsenal fans, like John Wenger's era, sing it to the players. And look, maybe them players were not fit to wear the Arsenal shirt at the time. But I never in my life until today heard United fans say to the players, you're not fit to wear a shirt. And they're justifiably so, they sang that today, because none of these players, apart from Cristiano Ronaldo, David De Gea, Fred maybe, Elanga, outside of that spectrum, none of the rest of these players are fit to wear the shirt. And it's an absolute disgrace.
Yeah, absolute disgrace indeed. John, our good friend John, who we all know very well, good to see you in the comments, mate. On the positive side, lads, I've just did a tweet about this as well. Just one more game to endure this season. The tweet itself that I saw had Ten Hag's face. He's got a lot to do. Anything to add to what Keane said there? As I said, a worst points tally, Jamie. And anything else to add on that, mate?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I saw a stat as well. It's also that, it's the first time that United have never reached the quarterfinal of a competition in I can't remember how many years it was, but it's a damning statistic. If we concede twice in our final game of the season, we'll finish on a negative goal difference. That's another thing that I've seen come out of it.
+1 at the minute.
Yeah. Yeah, look, I think most of the fan base now will agree that people are just numb. It's not a case of feeling dejected anymore, and watching Brighton outplay us and put 4 past us and thinking, oh my God, what's going on? I think everyone's just a bit too used to it now, which is a real damning indictment. Again, trying to stay excuse me, trying to stay positive. I mean, you know me, I like to try and flip things into a positive, so we're not all too doom and gloom.
Always a silver lining with you.
Yeah, exactly. There's got to be. I've seen a lot on Twitter, people saying, Ten Hag will be ripping his contract up and they'll be, putting it in the shredder or whatever. I actually think the opposite. I think this is the perfect opportunity for Ten Hag. He's probably sat there thinking now, if he can even get half a football team out of this squad, get us playing anything that looks remotely like comprehensive football, all the fans will be blessed by it, because we've had to endure what we've endured over the last few months. And I think this takes a lot of pressure off him. Yes, he's got a massive rebuilding job to do in the summer. Whether or not we get the 10 players in that Ranić hinted at the other week that we needed, there's a good 10 players at least probably that need to leave. But I do think that it sets us up for Erik ten Hag to come in with a very, very, very low bar, the lowest bar that I think I've ever seen as a United fan for managing this club. I mean, realistically, it can't get worse, can it? Lowest ever Premier League points tally, like we've mentioned there. We're not playing Champions League. We won't be playing Europa League football. If we sit in a Conference League next season, let him have a good run out with the kids. It gives him a few extra games to get to grips with the squad. But yeah, everyone's saying, is he going to be watching this game today? He's he is obviously still focused on Ajax and winning the league. But he'll be watching this thinking, I can probably get something out of this somewhere. And even if I don't, I can't be any worse than what they're going through, surely. So, yes, end the season. I'm very excited for the season to be over, for us to stop, all the masochism that we're going through at the minute, that we voluntarily do this to ourselves every weekend because we love the club, we love the sport. But, again, there's that little cautious optimism in the back of my mind thinking, once you hit rock bottom, there's only one want to go up, and that'll be clipped up when we get relegated next season, I'm sure.
Yeah, I don't look forward to that. I don't think that will happen, Jamie. I think you'll be safe, but you're absolutely right. It can only get better, really. You're right, and it's just really. You're absolutely right. Actually, you made a point about all the fans going and obviously travelling all the time, and obviously us watching it at home. We do this for the love and the passion of our club, and it's so difficult and really difficult to see players just not doing enough. And I know that it's a penultimate game. I get that there's one game left, so they're probably lack of confidence and all that, but you just want to see a little bit more, I feel, and it's really difficult to watch, really difficult indeed. Just wanted to say, loads of you on Twitter. We can't read your comments, and we'd absolutely love to. So come over to youtube.com/Talk of the Devils, get your comments in, and we will go from there. Fred Bruno has come out and said, I talked with the club about the future many times before I signed my contract because I think the future can be good. But obviously many things need to be fixed, as we have seen this season. What do you make of those comments?
First of all, very heartfelt points by both Keane and Jamie. You've got to be optimistic. Like Jamie said, there's only one way now. Things can probably get worse, but how much longer? We've just got to be resilient. There will be an improvement. It's all cyclical. This season's just an amalgamation of problems over the last 7-8 years, on the recruitment side, on the way the club's been run generally, the training grounds, the coaching staff, everything. Bruno's right. I mean, he knows he would have obviously been given assurances before he signed his contract. We've just got to have hope as fans. The club seems to be making the right moves at the top. Richard Arnold seems to be doing the right things. Some of the things which the fans have been crying out for a number of years. There has been reforms with our head scouts leaving. Ten Hag's coming in, who's probably the favourite of the consensus among the fan base and probably the best person to take over. So, look, hopefully next season he'll have a blank canvas. We need radical reform, top to bottom. We can't just sort of sign a few players here and there. There's obviously a bit of an exodus with players out of contract this year, leaving the club, rightly so. But I mean, the word culture gets thrown out, left, right, and centre, but ultimately that's what it is. People walking about the pitch. I think as Alex Ferguson once said that no, Man United should be running more than every opponent, at a bare minimum, and that's clearly not what we're not doing. I'd love to see what our distance covered stats are recently. I don't think they'd be too high up the
I
Premier
don't
League
think
list.
I'd like to look at them at all.
No, I mean it's dreadful. It's embarrassingly dreadful, and that's what the issue is. We're just losing every game off the ball. But it's half the team's not going to be there next year. And unfortunately, they're the ones playing. So the season finished for most of the players weeks and months ago. So yeah, we're limping towards the end of the season. Bruno, I think for the players themselves as well, mentally they just want to get over the end of the season and then start fresh from next year. But yeah, as a fan, we just have to hope and put our trust in those running the club. Still continue to support the way we are. Still continue to back the players, and yeah, hope that next year is just a new beginning.
Yeah, new beginning.
I think,
Jamie.
Yeah, just because I think it's perfect, isn't it? The way you said it then, Fred, that football in its nature is cyclical, and there's ebbs and there's flow, peaks and troughs, and everything like that. And I'd be very hard pressed, and I'd be impressed if anyone could tell me any club in the world that has never endured a period that they go into a lull. We enjoyed nearly a quarter of a century of Premier League dominance. We won a treble, which still, fingers crossed, at the end of the season. Yeah, and it's still never been repeated by an English club. If it wasn't for Pep Guardiola and Messi and that just ridiculous Barcelona side, we would have won 4 Champions Leagues under Ferguson. So we had the highs, and I still stand by that this was all a voodoo curse. That we all enjoyed this really successful period, but at the expense of we were going to spend 10 years in this horrendous mire. But I do think that we will come back at some point. City are going through their dominance era at the minute. But when you look at that squad, you look at Pep's not going to be around forever. Those players aren't going to be around forever, and unless they get everything right when it comes to the next appointment, and replacing the players, they'll go through a similar situation. So I have confidence that we'll come back because that's what football does. But again, the decisions at the top need to be made correctly. The decisions with the squad need to be made correctly. I do think, like we've all mentioned several times, Erik ten Hag was the right man to appoint, and when we did, the process we went through to appoint him was the correct one. Actually interviewing people, and the fact that he didn't meet Richard Arnold until right at the end of the process was the best thing for it. And it's about now making sure that the next steps are correct, that they're not ones that are going to take us back. Because I think that's what we've done every couple of years, rather than being a bit further through the dip that all football clubs experience. We've taken ourselves back a little bit, whether it's by signing somebody on a free transfer with astronomical wages, or whether it's about missing out on a really highly rated transfer because we didn't meet them quick enough or something like that. And I just really hope that throughout the summer we see the healing process. And I think that's why it will take time. And I think that's why we need patience with Ten Hag. And I think we are a club that you do get patience with for the most part. If, like Fred said, the one metric that people want to see, the one stat that people want to see is you covering more ground than the opposition. It's as simple as that. Everything else comes with time, comes with coaching, and is a bonus, But the main thing you want to see as a United fan is those players caring, because at least then the players aren't the problem. It might be the coaching setup, and different discussions can be had. But the very bare minimum, those players should be covering every blade of grass twice over more than the opposition. And I really hope that that's the focus for next year, on getting players that want to do that for the club back in.
Yeah, good points. Well made. Going to come back to some Bruno comments in a minute, and I'll hand them over to you, Keane. I do agree, and I've used the terminology before, that obviously football is a cyclical thing. Absolutely is. However, I can't, you look at other teams, Liverpool, obviously they went for a very long period of not really winning much, the odd trophy here and there, but they were never too far away. I just feel that United have taken such a nosedive in the last few years, and it's now coming to a head. And it's just really difficult. You said earlier, and everyone would have spoken about this before, but you go through a period of 26 years, 27 years of so much glory. It's going to be a massive come down on the other side, huge, and that's why it hits that much harder. Bruno goes on to say the results is what it is. It's not good enough. They outplayed us. They've always had a solution, pressed us better, and they deserve the result. A little bit of everything went wrong. Quality, mentality. We deserve to be in the position we're in now. It's something that we have to look at and be embarrassed about. It was not good enough from us. We have to do so much better. And before I come on to you, Keane, he's shaking his head. Nicholas P, great to have you here, buddy. Really good to see you again. Fans deserve their money back. And Jim James, fans don't give up. Players have given up. End of. We won't even get a number of points Moyes got. Disgraceful. Yeah, we did talk about that. The worst possible points total ever. So, Keane, back to Bruno's comments. You were shaking your head. Can you add to that, or how do you feel?
Yeah, like it's the same things they're all coming out saying post-match. We must do better. We're embarrassed. We're looking to the future. Actions speak louder than words. I don't care. Like, people know Bruno's my favourite player. Bruno's my favourite player in this team. Bar probably Ronaldo, because he's my childhood favourite player. And obviously he's still at the football club. But the amount of times you can say the empty apologies that we get from these players, and then the next week they go out and they don't run again. Like, I'd rather if they just, I know the club they have media obligations. Players have to go out and they have to fulfill their obligation and go and give an interview. You can do what Josie don't say, have nothing to say, and walk out the interview. You don't get fined for that. Do you know what I mean? Actions speak louder than words. And these players have given empty statements every week, social media apologies. I want less of that now at this point. I just want these players to get back to basics, get back to playing football and working hard. Like, Jamie hit the nail on the head where he says, like, what we want to see as a metric next season is, players who will work hard, and we see us covering more ground than other teams. And then look, if the results aren't there, but we can see progress, that's fine. We know the players are working hard, and we know they're doing it for the shirt and they're doing it for the fans. What I have a problem with now is there's very high earners at this football club not running, and then when they lose the ball, they complain. And they don't run back for it. Like, the fact of the matter is, we played Everton a month ago now. That month after flying. We played Everton a month ago, and they ran 10k more than us. 10k. Now, I'd be interested to see what the stats are in terms of how much more Brighton ran more than us today. But like, even under David Moyes, right? Like, even in his era, we ran a lot. I know we were literally like probably what's the best word I can use here? A poor man's version of what Liverpool will do with Trent now in terms of those spamming crosses into the box. We were literally that under Moyes. We just spammed the crosses and hit it to Januzaj, and hopefully we get something. Well, at least that team worked hard. I know we didn't ultimately, do anything well, and Moyes got sacked. But the players still ran. Under Van Gaal, you could see a bit of identity. You could see, right, he didn't have the personnel to probably play possession football, right? Let's be honest. Jose, for the first couple of seasons, we've seen something. Like, what really baffles me with this particular group, though, this team that we have right now, what baffles me, up until probably the last 3 weeks of Solskjaer's reign, this same group of players ran through brick walls with Solskjaer. They ran, like, that's how we got so many comebacks last season. I know everyone called United second half FC, whatever social media wanted to label these group of players.
I'd rather that than no off.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, 100%. But this is what I mean. This same group of players ran through brick walls to the previous manager until the point they didn't want to run through brick walls to the previous manager. And they've never ran, apart from the half an hour against Crystal Palace, they haven't run it through a brick wall at all for Ralph Rangnick. So the way I look at it is, United need a serious culture change. And that's not just setting the culture at top. You need to get players in who are professionals. Like, in terms of having professional pride. Like, all these players, whoever they buy in, is going to be a professional footballer. We need to buy players who have professional pride in their trade. That's their job. They're footballers. Like, I actually can't stand this squad. And I said, like, you can go back on my Twitter and you can see me saying on Twitter, probably this time last year, this is probably the most likable United team post of Alex Ferguson, because they work so hard. In a space of 12 months, they've probably become the most dislikable Manchester United team in the club's history. Because of how they don't work hard, because they don't make a tackle, and because their body language is so soulless when they lose the ball. Like, if you look at the United team that got relegated, I dare to say that team would absolutely batter this lot. They would absolutely batter this lot because they don't run the hard yards. This team is a disgrace to this football club. And again, I will just reiterate that I just feel sorry for all the fans who support this team, who go home and away week in, week out, because people spend their hard-earned money and they work Monday to Friday probably, to go see United. They probably take days off work to go see United, take days away from their family, their kids, whatever. And then you have this group of players who don't bother their arse to make a tackle, don't bother their arse to get out of a jog. Like, seriously, they're just embarrassing. And I'm absolutely sick to death of them. And I can't wait until the Palace game is over. And I'm just saying now, Crystal Palace away, after the FAU Cup final, just throw all the under 23s out. I do not want to see any of the rest of them anymore. Maybe the only person I want to see is Ronaldo, because he's probably one of the only people who can come out with this season with his head held high. Just throw the 23s out in the last game, because I'm actually sick to death of this group.
Yeah, some very harsh but fair and emotional words there, but you're absolutely spot on, Keenan. It's really, really difficult, really difficult. I'd play the kids too. I really would. I've been saying this for weeks. I know obviously we've had something to play for, but I think final game of the season, I wouldn't be surprised if he completely revamps it all, and I'd like to see that. I think it's only fair. One thing I will say about players addressing, I do get where you're coming from. I do get frustrated with it myself. I want to see action. Actions do speak far louder than words, as you say. But unfortunately, these players are interviewed and they have to say the same spiel every week. Obviously, you want to see that change, so they don't have to. But I don't. I feel that they're unfairly chastised a little bit in interviews. It's always kind of directed in a way to perhaps make them look even worse than what it is. But it is what it is. Bruno goes on to say again, on the Man United chance of you're not fit to wear the shirt, and fair play to him. I include myself in that. What I did today was not enough to be in a Manchester United shirt, and I accept it. And fair play to him. Obviously, you don't want to see that, but that's the kind of thing. Obviously, we can get on board with. We're always talking about that sort of thing. Jamie, anything to add on anything Keane said or Bruno said? Go for it.
Yeah, I think the instant one that I think of is when we talk about, in the space of 12 months, how this team have completely done a 180 and changed. I wonder whether it's some sort of, substitute teacher effect. They know that Ranić's not going to be here at the end of the season. He's here to steady the ship when he was appointed. Hopefully he will steady the ship. And then he's going to take a consultancy role. And especially now, he's going to go and manage Austria. So the players are probably sat there going, well, you're not going to be here in the summer, so why do I care to play under you? How much work can an interim manager really do in 6 months for a team that was so dishevelled and out of shape, and there was no real squad identity at the end of Solskjaer's era? So I think that much like, a bunch of rowdy schoolboys in a classroom, when a substitute teacher comes in, they've probably just gone, what does it matter? Which is the wrong attitude to have, obviously, when you pull on this shirt. The shirt itself carries a lot of weight with it, carries a lot of prestige and history, and people should be proud. Should be proud every time they walk into the changing rooms and see that shirt hanging up with their name on the back. They should be thinking, like, I'm playing for Manchester United. My biggest fear, and it's something that I'm sure we'll talk about in weeks to come, is that we're slowly going to lose that allure. We used to banter Liverpool about, always being history FC and stuff like that. And that is very quickly becoming us. And there's only so many times and so many years you can continue to have that pedigree of, we are Manchester United, we're a huge football club, before it starts to fall on deaf ears. And you'll have kids coming through that will have grown up not watching United's dominance. In the same way that kids used to grow up wanting to be Thierry Henry playing for Arsenal. They then grew up and thought, actually Wayne Rooney at United, and, seeing our dominance. They're now going to be looking at Kevin De Bruyne, and then they're going to be looking at Mohamed Salah and players like that in the Premier League for these famous title races that I have no idea what's wrong with my throat today, guys. I'm very sorry. These famous title races, Liverpool coming second in a Premier League, but with what, 97 points, 98 points, whatever it was that season. And my fear is that if that continues for another 5 years or whatever, without us in and around it, you're going to end up with a generation of players coming through the game that were, they grew up with posters of Kevin De Bruyne on their wall rather than growing up with posters of Ronaldo on their wall. And we won't have that allure anymore. And we'll be stuck to really having to scout and get back to it. So, again, I really hope the appointment goes well. Of Ten Hag, the signs are there that it should go well. There needs to be the structure around him for him to succeed. And I think Ranić at the time was the correct appointment. It would be very reactionary to say, "Now we never should have appointed him." But that's not what we do here, is it? We have reasons.
Hindsight's a wonderful thing.
Exactly. In hindsight, people could turn around and go, "Well, we never should have sacked David Moyes because look where he is with West Ham." But people say that and forget about his tenure with Sociedad, with Sunderland. Turn around and going, "Oh, well, Van Gaal should have been sacked."
And West Ham twice.
Yeah, but it's like people say maybe we shouldn't have sacked Van Gaal. That was the last time that I was going to Old Trafford regularly. I've since moved to York, and obviously it's a lot more difficult. But Jesus Christ, that was some of the worst football I think I've ever seen. I liked Van Gaal as a character, but again, it was the wrong appointment. Probably it was the right appointment. 15 years prior when he was still top. So yeah, the hindsight's a wonderful thing. I still think at that point Ranić was the most clever option. If we'd have brought Conte in, we'd have been in the exact same position 18 months down the line. He would have brought in short-term solutions to try and fix a long-term problem, and it wouldn't have worked. And I stand by that. So yeah, it's one of those. We'll judge it in 12 months and see where Ten Hag's at.
Yeah, absolutely spot on. Just a couple more comments from Ragnick. Going to come to you on these, Fred, and then we're going to do a unwanted player rating. And as we go through those, guys, all of you in the comments, please put your numbers in too, and we'll go through them. If there are any disparities. But Ragnick, Fred says, it was a terrible performance. Yeah. From the first minute to the last, it was not enough, and we can only apologise for this performance after this humiliating defeat. We just gave too much time and space. We were never in a position where we could have stopped them playing through our lines. We told the players to be as compact as they could, but we couldn't stop it. Can't follow the basics. Sometimes we've spoken about this already on this chat and on this stream and many times before. I don't think we gave them. Oh no, I've already read that. Sorry. I don't think the Man United players ignored the game plan, but we weren't able to stop them. We gave them too much space, and if you do that against a technically good team like Brighton, they are technically good. We can make jokes. Oh, it should be a push over 3 points, but we've said many, many times, great team run by a good manager, and if you're not careful like today, you get carved open. You will get punished, he says. Fred obviously speaks the truth. We've spoken about this already, but is there anything you'd like to add to that?
I'd like to have a petty thought for the fans of the Austrian national team, because imagine them seeing this, they're probably shivering in their seats. You know what I mean? I mean, look, I agree. Look, everything he's saying is right. It's imagine the embarrassment for him being the manager of this lot. It ultimately reflects on him. So he's going to feel it as much as the fans, because it directly reflects on his performance. I agree. I think he was the right appointment at the time. Hindsight's a wonderful thing. It's interesting what Jamie mentioned about
just to quickly interject, Fred. Sorry, isn't it funny how in business or most jobs everything filters down? Okay, so you've got the managers which delegate, and generally speaking, if something goes wrong, it's somebody lower. However, in this club, in football, it seems to filter up, and I think that we see that too often. I said to Keane backstage, I've said this so many times on this show. I can't blame Ollie as much as it was poor at that time, and you could see the frailties and I can't, and I feel sorry for him more and more as time goes on, and I can't blame Ralph at all.
What do you mean it filters up?
I just feel that obviously the players are never blamed, really. It seems to be the manager that takes far more of the brunt than the players do. But I think that obviously, as Stu said on this show as well before, and I've said, once you cross that white line, it's down to you to perform. And obviously we're not seeing that. So sorry to interject.
It's funny you say that. I relate football to your standard work. I work in an office, and I usually relate it to that. The problem, my perception of it all, is that from top to bottom, there's no common goal. Everyone's got different aims. The commercial side, the football side, whatever. Everyone's just, it's as if you've got different factions in the workplace, and inevitably you're not going to get the end results that you desire. So it's to me, this has been, even in the past few years, I probably would have anticipated one of these seasons eventually, because it was always going to reach boiling point. In terms of like a shorter term view, is it? I've been mulling over the issue about, okay, are the players just not performing because they know Ralph's only an interim? I think that's half the problem if with that argument, because these guys are meant to be professionals. You then can relate that to recruitment. Are we recruiting guys that have initiative, and it should, regardless of the manager, regardless of their teammates around them, they need to give 100%. Week in, week out. You can't. There's just so much shift of blame. It doesn't help when players come out after matches and blame other players or blame whatever. There's just no initiative. There's no responsibility. And there's no common goal amongst the top to bottom hierarchy of the club, and that ultimately is what the issue is. And then you can obviously delve into that, into recruitment, into mentality, culture, whatever. But until these fundamentals get fixed, and like I said earlier, I think they are. The club are making the right steps, so it seems. Obviously, time's going to tell in the next few years if those steps are correct or not. But we just have to endure this. One thing you mentioned earlier about the whole cyclical aspect, and you don't think Liverpool went through this. Liverpool did wait 30 years until they got to this stage. City waited even longer, albeit they've had external, influences in that. I think the landscape of football, the Premier League has just changed in the last 4 to 5 years with television revenue, being distributed evenly. The gap, it used to be traditional top four, Liverpool, Chelsea, United, Arsenal. Now, your West Hams, your Leicesters, Wolves a few months ago, it's free for all. The gap between top to bottom is really, really narrowed. So I think it's just unfortunate that our end of cycle or our downwards trajectory has coincided with the current, environment of the Premier League. And money's obviously not helped always, the main contributing factor behind that. But we just have to endure it. Unfortunately, it's going to be like this. Next year is not going to be, Ten Hag's not the Messiah. It's going to be a slow process. He's going to have to, reform the culture. He's going to have to get rid of players and recruit new players, implement his style. That's going to take years, 2-3 years minimum. So, yeah, just hope the club's going in the right steps. It looks like they are. Hopefully, there's a few more top-level recruitments. Paul Mitchell potentially, and some of the players that we're linked with. Albeit everyone seems like it's everyone under the sun at the moment. We just need to trust the club that they're good with, sort of football-wise, but they're actually the right personality, that they just take responsibility on their own. Then they won't. Doesn't matter who the manager is. They'll, as long as they turn up and they know that they'll turn up 100 and give 100% week in, week out. That's the only way we're going to progress and get back to where we used to be.
Yeah, absolutely spot on, and I stand corrected, Fred. So thank you for that.
Difference of opinion.
I'm playing. Stuart in the comments. It's been a long time since I've spoken to this guy. I hope you're well, my man. Evening, lads. Delighted to say I missed today's circus and went to see my local team win the Irish Cup final in dramatic fashion. You should check it out.
Nice.
I think it must be nice. Must be nice with trophies and to be positive and to get a win. Seems like an age ago. So anyway, we're going to get to the nitty gritty. Sorry, guys. I know this is going to be very, very painful. But David De Gea, Keane, you first.
Till.
My word. Jamie.
Yeah.
What? Oof. It was a very interesting performance of two goalkeepers that are at completely different ends of the spectrum when it comes to the modernisation of football and the necessity of playing out from the back. Sanchez was looking at him, and like that meme from Malcolm in the Middle where it's like, the future's now, old man. Look, no one can fault De Gea for his services with the club. He's one of the only Premier League winners we have in our squad, and he's been phenomenal. But I think today was the one where he'll go, oh shit, that's what I meant to be doing. 1.
My word. I thought I was going to be too generous, but now I'm worried that I'm not going to be generous enough. Fred.
I'd say 2. I'll go one more, but it's just interesting that Brighton's goalie has displaced De Gea in the Spanish ranks. Enrique's one of the people he's one of the people that have replaced De Gea in the pecking order, not necessarily starting, but in the 3 national team goalies. And you could tell just with his distribution, he obviously had quite a good game. I
I
thought
was
a
going to
few of
say
the
his distribution was excellent, and
brilliant.
that's what you need in a
Brilliant.
modern day keeper.
Absolutely, they've obviously got a style that they want to. Enrique has a style for Spain he wants to implement, and he's choosing the players for that. I think some of the shots were straight at him. Cavani was a good save from point blank, but he did what he needed to do. So yeah, unfortunately, De Gea's side are 4 goals. What can you say?
Yeah, I can't really disagree, but I'm going to be a little bit more generous and give him a 3. I think his defence let him down hugely today. I think on the particularly the first goal, line of sight was an issue. You can't really fight him for that. I know there was one other probably should have done better, but his defence, he must be going nuts at them every week. Go on.
The only thing is, how many times have we seen him beat it his near post? That's my biggest concern.
Yeah.
His shot stopping has never been an issue, except when somebody shoots at his near post. And that Cucurella attempt, I don't understand how that snuck in. Like, great, don't get me wrong, I'm not taking anything away from him. Like, it was a great hit. But how, as a keeper, are you not protecting your near post? And again, whether it's because he doesn't have confidence in the rest of his defence, and I might be being a bit, nitpicky here, but it just feels like it's one of those that if you're an attacker of an opposition side, there's 2 shots you take against De Gea, and one of them is just a long-range effort for whatever reason, and because we know what he's like with them, and the other one is you smash it near post.
Yeah, you're absolutely spot on. Moving on, we're going to do the defence all in one go, actually. Varane, Lindelof, Tellez and Dallo. Keane, you start. You're a mute, buddy.
Yeah, I just said I'm on mute. Thank God I didn't say what I wanted to say there. But I'm giving all them a 1. I can't give them a negative, like a -0 or -1. So I'm going to give them a 1. The whole back 4 a 1, and that's yeah. Next,
I saw scathing. I love it, Keane. I saw a stat which was pleasantly surprising. When Varane started in the defence, we conceded less. Minutes per goal was better, but that's probably gone out the window today, and he was pretty poor. Jamie, you for those 4.
0 for all of them. There was absolutely nothing redeemable.
I thought
about
you'd get
them.
at least 1 for turning up.
No, I wish they hadn't. I genuinely wish they hadn't turned up. Tellez sold us a dream. I've said this before. I think he sold us a dream. We saw how devoid and starved of set pieces we were, and we looked at this guy with a bit of a left peg. We saw some compilations of him and thought, you know what? Yeah, maybe he's going to be, our attacking left back. And the guy is woeful. He's had a couple of decent moments for us. Varane today, I've defended Varane so many times. If Stu Woolley's still in the comments, me and him have had a few words with each other about how I rate Varane and he doesn't. He was poor today. He was absolutely poor. Lindelof poor, and Dalot was shocking. There was so much space in front of him that he didn't exploit, and then every time they attacked us down the left-hand side, we were just over. And then in the first half, sorry, I know there's other people want to talk. In the first half, they were doing little back-heel flicks. They were taking the piss out of us. Do you know what I mean? That bit with Solly March and I can't remember who else it was. Just little interchanges of fancy flicks down the right-hand side, and Tellez was just sent for a spin. I was like, what is going on here? And also, just randomly, I don't know why, but Brighton very much give me sort of top 5 Spanish side. Like they could definitely be like a Getafe when they're just having a bit of a good season qualifying. Or
Athletic.
I don't know why I get them. Yeah, I get them vibes from them. Sorry, that was completely random, but just
I don't
switch away from me saying a 0.
Yeah, no, that's fair, and I can't really disagree with you. Really poor performance today by all of them, absolutely. And as you said, I was one of the many people that probably looked on YouTube and everywhere else about Tellez and was sold a dream too. How we were lured into a false sense of security, but there we go. Fred, anything to add to those and your ratings?
I think I can on the spot. I could tell you instances in that match where each one of the back four made mistakes. I mean, Lindelof for I think it was the first goal. Why he's just square on with his legs? I've seen a still of his legs, and it just looks like a baby giraffe. Baby giraffe. Oh, I don't. What is he doing?
Bambi.
Literally, and then Varane for the Welbeck nearly chipped out. Tellez can't head the ball to save his life. I won't be as harsh on Tellez as the boys and what I've heard, because I think our fullbacks are really buggered by the lack of tracking back out of our wide players, and that was seen in the second half when Ralph took Alanga off. Cucurella he had free reign most of the time in the first half, but at least Alanga did the job to an extent. As soon as Alanga went off and he put Cavani on up top with Ronaldo, Jesus Christ, Dalot, it was 3-on-1 at times. And he 1-on-1. I'll put my money on the attacker against him. So, and Dalot's just not good enough. I mean, I don't know where this mystery that he's just a world-class crosser came from. I think he did like one cross when Mourinho signed him, and everyone just jumped on that bandwagon. He just comes in with too much. No overlaps. I mean, he's not fast. What he's trying to, he's trying to overlap, and he's not fast enough against Cucurella, who has time to spin and then run, and he still beats him. They're just not good enough. Unfortunately, you can criticise them, but it gets to a stage where if someone's not good enough, that's what the problem is. So we need to upgrade on them. Look, Varane, Sky showed a graphic about our goals conceded with and without him. And it shows that when he's not playing, we concede considerably more goals. So there's a player in there, but I think you're only as good as your partners or your defenders around you to an extent, and the midfielder in front of you and the goalkeeper behind you. So yeah, neither can hold their head up high, but there's a bigger systemic issue as opposed to individual ability for certain defenders.
Yeah, I wholeheartedly agree with that.
I tell you what, though, if we concede less goals with Varane playing, God knows how many we'd have conceded today if he wasn't there.
Yeah.
And also, just on the Dalot thing, I agree with you. This thing of him being a world-class attacker, because hasn't Wan-Bissaka created more big chances than him this season?
Do you know what, Wan-Bissaka? What's?
Yeah, he has. Yeah.
I don't play him.
People are fickle.
Just because he can't go up and attack. Dallow's not doing. He's doing fuck all in attack. Sorry, like it really annoys me, Dalot, because he didn't cut it at Milan. He didn't do it before he went to Milan. He's not doing it now, and he's not young anymore. I don't know.
Just because I agree, because my thing is, and people are fickle. Football fans have very short-term memories a lot of the time, and the stick that Wan-Bissaka's been getting this season for just having a poor season like the rest of the squad. I'd much rather have a right back that is excellent defensively and poor going forward than a right back that is pretty rubbish at both aspects of being a right back. Everyone, granted, Dani Alves, Roberto Carlos, and the likes have been attacking fullbacks, long before Trent was knocking around. But Trent has really created this discourse that to be a good right back, and yes, in that system, he excels massively and he is phenomenal. He is world class. But it has created this narrative that if your right back isn't getting 12 assists a season, then he's terrible. Wan-Bissaka, we forget that he had the highest successful tackle percentage in the league at one point, the most tackles attempted at one point, and he's not as bad at attacking. I think because he's got long limbs at times, people think he's quite funny. But yeah, the Wan-Bissaka disrespect is starting to annoy me a little bit. But I agree with you massively, Fred, on Dalot.
Yeah. You're absolutely right. I hope he gets another chance at some stage, and it's not all about assists. You're absolutely right. It's created a really incorrect narrative. I don't care what anyone says. The first port of call as a right back or a left back is defence, and obviously Trent gets caught out for that. But because they play a high line, they seem to get away with it a lot more. Just to give you a bit of an update, it's still 0-0 between Liverpool and Spurs, and I'm sure that all of us will be Spurs today. Top four's over, so Spurs can win now if they want. Just don't want to see Liverpool getting any more this season.
City are going to lose to Newcastle.
Ooh,
They'll have a
I
lose
hope
or
not.
draw. They will 100% drop points. Just putting that
I
out there.
hope not. Right, moving on. Keane, getting back to our midfield, McTominay, Matic, and Bruno. A bit of a shake of the head then again, I think. Go on.
I gave McTominay and Matic a 1, Bruno a 2. That's it for me.
Bruno as well? Is that Bruno as well?
Yeah, so McTominay, Matic 1, and Bruno a 2.
Right, sorry, I misheard that. I think I lost my connection a bit there. Can you improve on that, Jamie?
Considering I'd forgot that Bruno was playing half the time, I don't know. I love Bruno. Like, he probably is. Him and Rashford are my two favourite players, which is funny because they're probably the two most divisive players in the club at the minute. But Bruno today was appalling. Was absolutely appalling. But because I love him, I'll give him a 2 as well. McTominay had less.
That was it for me. Because of my affection, I gave him just one more than the two other lads, just for my borderline affection for the man. But yeah,
exactly. And McTominay, for the fact that I think Sanchez completed more passes than McTominay, he gets a fat 0 as well. Matic shouldn't be playing football for us anymore because he's leaving at the end of the season. I don't understand this incessant need to be constantly playing him.
Well, is he any defensive midfielder we've got that can do their job properly? I think that's a massive problem we've had for a long time. But
doing his job properly, I think, is a very, very long stretch. I think, don't get me wrong, I've enjoyed Matic at United. I think we signed him at the wrong end of his career. He would have been brilliant if we'd have picked him up at 26, 27. Fantastic. Well, whenever we did, but I do agree with when players actively come out and say, I'm leaving the club. I always think, why are we starting you then? Especially when we're this bad. Fernandinho can come on and make cameos for City and stuff like that because City are flying in the league and stuff like that. And if they're 4-0 up, why not bring him on for a 10-minute swan song? I just don't think he has the legs to play against a very energetic Brighton midfield that give me Spanish energy. So him and McTominay get a 1.
Yeah, harsh but fair. Fred.
I think Matic, good Matic. Matic had a good game last game. He's had a few good games recently, and Matter's the same. We'll come on to Matter, but in terms of the players that are leaving, I think it's right that they retain their spot. The alternatives aren't great. I think Fred would have started if he was fitter. McTominay's had a shocker. Bruno started on the left. You could argue out of position. I might be scraping the barrel a bit here, but probably 2 for Matter and Matic and McTominay, and 3 for Bruno because he had a few shots in the second half. But yeah, really scraping the barrel.
Yeah, good points well made there. Obviously a load of rubbish. Elanga, Ronaldo. You said about Mata just now, didn't you, Fred? I didn't ask about Mata, so I'll miss you out for him. But Fred, not Fred. Ronaldo, Elanga, Mata, King.
Wait a second, Elanga, Mata, and who else? Ronaldo, is it?
Yeah.
Ronaldo, just because
I'm having an absolute mare. Sorry, boys.
Yeah, Elanga, Mata, and Ronaldo. Right, look, Elanga actually tried to run. I gave him a 3 just simply because he tried to run. He ran more than most of the players on the pitch for us. Yeah, pretty unfortunate to probably come off for a player who was disrespected the club for the last 6 months. Yeah, Elanga gets a 3. Mata, just out of respect for him, I give him a 3. He's, apart from the other players leaving the club, he showed the club respect. He's always stayed like a model professional. He actually tried to work hard, even due to his physical limitations. He's not the quickest player in the world, but he actually tried to track back and tried to do something. So I give him a 3. And yeah, look, as I said, Ronaldo, I give all of them a 3. Just fuck it. I'll give all of them a 3. To be honest, I'm just really scraping the barrel to give them all them lads a 3. I think it's just they're probably not being our worst players. Say everyone else who we mentioned before were worse than the 3. We just have to rate now. So yeah.
I just want to apologise for everybody's profanities today. not what we want, but I can understand it with the
Excuse
frustration.
me. Everybody's profanities. I've not sworn once, Mark. I'll have you know.
Jamie is golden child right now, and you're absolutely right for pointing that
And
out.
I'm
so
usually
thank you.
and I'm usually really bad at it. So
No, you're absolutely right, and thank you for pointing that out. Your ratings on those front three, Jamie?
yeah, I'm going to give Elanga a 3-4. He didn't do anything majorly wrong. I think his tracking back at times was potentially questionable, but he's young. He'll learn. He tracked back a little bit more than maybe because our setup confused me because Bruno was on the left, but then Bruno would occupy the centre at times. We didn't seem to have anyone drift out left, and we'd be oversaturated with Mata and Bruno just in the middle waiting. Ronaldo was playing almost as a 6 at times, and I was like, oh, okay, this is, we have no identity. Yeah, Elanga for that.
Better job than Matic, but
yeah, probably. Bruno, not Bruno, Mata. I give Mata a 5 because it's one Mata in it. You know what I mean? I've not got a bad word to say about the guy. Except we picked him up at what was he 25 when we picked him up? 26 or something like that.
We picked him up at 25. What's the mad thing about this, Jamie, right? We picked him up at 25 and he was one of the best number 10s in the league. And we made a 25-year-old look like a 30-year-old for 10 years.
and this is what baffles me.
Right mid.
We only played
him right mid.
We only played him in the 10 a couple of games
against
ago.
Brentford. Yeah, literally, it's taken us what 8 years to go. You know what? This guy that won back-to-back Player of the Year for Chelsea in the 10. Maybe we should play him in the 10. But when I saw that he was 25 when we signed him, I was like, nah, he's been 34 for forever. Do you know what I mean?
10 years.
Yeah, he's always been that lad.
The funny thing is, we bought Fellaini 6 months earlier, then one Mata 6 months. And do you know what I mean? The stark contrast. And it just, if the lines weren't, the cracks weren't showing then about style of play.
That's signings alone symbolise where the disconnect in United's recruitment really started.
Yeah,
exactly.
Especially given Tony Cruz's recent comments where he said that everything was set for him to join United. But anyway, I'd also take Fellaini back in a heartbeat. That Fellaini, I'm not talking about Fellaini now, would improve this team. But yeah, Mata 5 just because he's leaving and I think he's lovely. Ronaldo 3.
He is a lovely man, and what we've done to him is disgusting. He stopped
criminal. It's criminal. He should take us to the court of arbitration for sport and sue us.
Yeah, absolutely right. And he stopped doing his blog, didn't he? A few years ago, and
which was really depressing.
Yep. So the poor man. Yeah, I've got nothing bad to say against him either. Wish him well, obviously. Fred, anything to add for those three?
I'll just give 4s across the board, just because I like them a lot, and they've had a few good weeks recently. So yeah, 4 for the 3 of them. One thing, I'll just go back to the midfield. I mean, it's the wrong midfield to start. If you know that Caicedo has been playing recently for Brighton and Bissouma, and we're playing, Mata, Matic, and then Bruno out wide, it's the wrong midfield, and we lost that battle as we do most games. And yeah, that was part of the reason why we got heavily battered today. Yeah,
absolutely right. Just want to say to everybody in the comments, thank you for tuning in today. It's really good conversation. Always great to have you. A couple of new faces and the usuals too. So really, really great to have you here. Make sure you get liking and subscribing. As I said, it's really important to us. It goes a long way. You three, always gems, always a great conversation and wonderful to have you on. I can only apologise that my run continues with you two at the bottom I'm looking at. But there we go. We've got one more, guys, just one more game. And of course, that will be next weekend, and I will be hosting that one too. So let's try and bow out with a little bit of decorum and grace, and we'll go from there. Just in case you weren't aware, Keane did a really great show last night with 3 ex-United players, Phil Marsh, Lee Lawrence and Marcus, really, really great stuff. I don't think they'd seen each other for 15 years. 2 of them had, but they hadn't seen Marcus for about 15 years or something like that. So it was a really nice little touch. So please go and watch that. Really, really good show. Obviously, we've got the usual on Monday. Wayne, I believe, is back, isn't he? He'll be doing the show with Paul Parker again at 10 a.m. So please tune in for that. Until then, you won't see me until the next reaction, but I hope you all have a good rest of your weekends, and we'll see you next time.